Is it going to be a Marva quote?
Thank the Force. We are live. Star Wars Newsnet Live Thursday night, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. I am Tyler, joined on this Thursday evening by Luke and Mr. Tom. And we were just talking before we came on about how frustrated we are at the Disney overlords for not giving us the 10-year Force Awakens movie in theaters for the 10-year anniversary, right? It was very frustrated. And I did have a few choice words for them before we started. Now, Tom said it right before we get on. Is like, is it a Marvel quote you're thinking? I was like, yes. I'm like sitting here going, I just want to wake up and fight these bastards. That's how I feel when they have denied us the Force Awakens in theaters 10-year anniversary, which is just so weird. But how are we feeling about not just that, but overall life in general?
Tom, you take it away.
Well, I'm feeling good to be up and around. I kind of had a little bout with, living with 3 people that had the flu, and it kind of caught up with me a little bit over the weekend, but doing much better now, feeling much better. Cough is under control. So I'm just happy to be with my guys talking about Star Wars again.
Tom says cough's under control. 5 seconds later is just starts erupting and coughs. He just loses it. The midichlorians said no. How are you, Luke?
It is a good time. It's a busy time to be a Sheehan, a very big family. Lots of meetings, lots of Christmases, lots of Thanksgivings that we've already been to.
About you, sorry. I just love how you said you didn't use the word celebration or anything like that. You said a lot of meetings. Just a lot of meetings.
Very
maybe it up for business here.
Maybe I've been at work too long and I've been working too many hours.
You're clocking people in.
Yeah, but it's all good. I have a big family. I love them all. So it's a very good time of year. It's just very busy. And I wish I was even more busy trying to fit in a Force Awakens viewing.
It's just mind-boggling that they don't do this. But I was telling Tom before, I was saying it's wild that we have 2 years before the A New Hope 50-year anniversary is put out there. There's 2 years they let us know in advance, hey guys, in May of 2027, guess what we're gonna do? Exactly what every single person in the world knew we were gonna do, but we're letting you know, mark your calendar now and make sure you got it booked. But that 10-year Force Awakens reunion, that's just a few months away. We're totally gonna forget about that. Make it make sense.
I can't. So a lot of the comics that have come out this year have a little 10-year anniversary because in 2015 is when they started releasing new canon comic books. And so I've loved the little symbol that they've got, and I just wish there could have been another little capitalization on this 10-year anniversary we have of the restart of a life pumping through Star Wars. So it stinks. And I think they were guaranteed it had already been released to all the theaters, and then The Hunt for Ben Solo blows up and they're like, no, shut it down, take it back.
Oh,
same
that would have been the perfect segue.
Oh, the Disney overlords taking away The Hunt for Ben Solo, but God forbid you at least put out a movie you've already released before in theaters.
Branded it as the prequel to The Hunt for Ben Solo.
Yeah,
we're releasing the Hunt for Ben Solo prequel.
Oh, that's good.
But I I am just frustrated. I'm just frustrated. But
I
it's
guess,
okay. It's okay.
yeah.
But hello, Manslayer. Good to see you today, sir.
Hey, man.
But okay, so one more thing before we get started. Tonight we're going to be talking about some Starfighter. We have a lot of Starfighter news to talk about. Mia Goth gave some comments. Sean Levy spoke in a recent interview. So we have some actually substantive news for Starfighter, which is really exciting as they're making their way through principal photography right now. And then of course we have a year of Skeleton Crew. So we're gonna just kind of revisit Skeleton Crew, and we're gonna see if I can even remember any of the characters' names because other than Neil. So I'm looking forward to that. But I had two things before we get started. The first is and this is just in general, I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are. It is state testing week right now at school. So we got done with the math test today. So all the kids are taking their math test, whether it's, just regular math, a lot of like algebra, things like that. And it brought me back to when I was in school. If there was like a multiple choice answer for the particular math question, not necessarily just a fill in the blank answer, right? And I'm just curious what your guys' thought process would have been. This happened to me way too many times, more times than I would like to admit, where I'm working the problem. I'm diligently, constructing an answer, working through the equation, sticking to the formulas, feel like I'm mapping out every step perfectly. And then I get what I believe is just undoubtedly the correct answer. And I look and my number is different from all four, choices that is available to me, which obviously there's a mistake with the question, but I went back, I checked my work again, get the same number. Okay. What did that ever happen to you? And what did you do in that situation? Because I always, would get, I default to one of two things. I'm either going to choose the number that's furthest away from whatever I put. I'm probably way off base. I got to choose 10 million if my number's 72. Okay. Or I'm finding the number that's closest and I'm just going to go with that one. I just remember getting to those and that happened. I kind of look around a little bit. I'm like, okay, so am I the only stupid one here? Like everyone else seems to be clicking away or finishing up the test in 30 minutes. I'm sitting here 40 minutes in. I'm like, I'm still in number 6, okay? Like, and I still don't know which one it is, but I'm just curious what that was like for you guys, what your process might have been in a situation like that. I'll throw it to Tom first because I don't really know Tom, how adept Tom is at math. I feel like Luke was just like, yeah, I was the guy that finished in 5 minutes and got 100% on all my math tests.
I did pretty well. I was an engineering student, so like
Okay.
yeah, I like math. But it's been a long time since I've taken those tests, so I don't know how I would fare at this point. I think what would happen is with my personality, I would get stuck on that one and not want to skip it. It would really frustrate me. I would probably just end up picking a random one if I had something totally off base. So
Tom, you're such a nice guy because what you just said was incredibly kind and considerate, but here is what you actually said. I'm just going to tell you, yeah, I never once had that situation happen to me. I was really good at math. Like I was looking over at you going, yeah, that kid's confused again. Poor kid. I'm going to go ahead and clock off here. Take my 100%. Yep. That's called a 36 on the ACT for math. Looking good there. Luke, I'm sure you were similar.
I would say similar. By trade, I am an accountant, so that's a lot of math. I'm working in Excel pretty much all day. Not to say that I like aced everything in school. I mean, I was a pretty good student, but I mean, I was not top 10.
Lowest grade was a 93, guys. It was a low A.
That was not me. No, I would absolutely have times where I would get to that, A, B, C, or D, and it's none of them. And so I would usually be able to work out if that's the case, it really might end up being one of your two things, Tyler, because I'm absolutely thinking the same way you are with like, was I really close or was I really far off? Because I don't think it's an intermediary thing. It's one end of the sliding scale. we're polarized here.
The thing with math is that I feel like it's not like English where you can kind of figure it out using context clues, and if you don't know the answer, you can kind of come up with a good guess. With math, it's like just because my answer is 73 and the closest one is 80, that does not mean I am even remotely close to solving this, because one incorrect move and the correct answer could be 730,000.
And there's been times where actually, I come to my answer and it's one of the four, but like some of those are baited, like you did it wrong and you got 64, but that's choice. And so sometimes you even have to double think, rework your like correct, like one that makes sense. So you can never be too sure unless you are for sure.
Mm-hmm. So this is actually not to just hijack, like derail everything with math talk, but so my senior year in college, and I had not taken a math class since my senior year of high school. And I had done like a college algebra course, concurrent course when I was a senior in high school. And that was like the only math credit I needed to graduate with the degrees that I was at the time going in. Of course, I decided to, do a major like change later on. And then like for the political science / there's like, public relations didn't need it, but like the political science, I need like one other math thing that didn't quite transfer over. So I had to take one my senior year, and there was only like one math class that actually fit in. And it was this like pre-calc kind of thing. I don't even remember what the class was called. And I just remember being like the most nervous person. I'm sitting here with a bunch of freshmen and sophomores, and I sit down, this giant class, and there's like 50 kids in there, 60 kids in there, something like that. I don't know. There's a lot of kids in there, and I just remember him first day, professor just gets on the whiteboard on the slides. He just starts writing all these forms. I knew at that point I was cooked. Like I was cooked. I went straight to one of the like counselor, academic advising people. And I said, what grade do I need to graduate? Because I'm telling you right now, an A, B, or C is off the table. I'm not passing. Can I get? And they're like, if you get like a 65%, we'll make sure you're good. Because I had like a 3.5 GPA at that point. Like my GPA is really good. My math was struggling. When I had to go to tutoring for 5 hours a week. You know what my final grade was in that class with 5 hours of tutoring a week?
Did you get that 65%?
I got a 65.5% on the final exam. On the final exam, I calculated, he kind of gave us a comprehensive look of everything we needed. And, I didn't go to tutoring until after the first test when I got a 20%. I did a lot. Our grades in the class were purely exams. Like we have 4 exams, like that's like all of it. And like, depending on how you do, it was terrible. Anyway, but all that to say, final exam, I calculated exactly what I would need to get the score that I needed. And I studied because he gave us how much of each thing would be on the final exam. And I only studied 4 things. And I did those 4 things like every day for 2 weeks, just for an hour or two, to make sure I was the master of those things. And I literally did that portion of the test, did nothing else on the exam, walked up. It was a paper exam. I turned it in, and he's in the, and I'm telling you, that stuff wasn't until like page 6 of this 10-page booklet. And so I was sweating at first because I'm looking through the booklet for the stuff I said. I'm like, it's not here. It's not here. And then I remember doing like the last 3 pages of the booklet, and I just turn in my booklet, and he's going, Tyler, like, and he's like, that's all you want to do? I was like, that's all I'm doing. So that's it. Turned it in. I got the exact score I needed because I mastered it, got my grade, graduated, diploma. We're good. But no, I don't like math.
That is rough.
And we know.
I remember, yeah.
I did have a bad experience one year in high school when we had standardized tests in New York for the Board of Regents. So they're like a special standardized test. I think California has them as well. I don't even know if they do it anymore, but there was one thing, and it was graphing, like it was trigonometry, and it was graphing, and it's either graph the sine curve or the cosine curve, and every 5 years they ask you to graph the tangent one. So that was the one. I says, all right, I'm probably lucky. I'm not going to get this. And that year I hit the lottery, and that was the one they asked, and I wasn't really prepared for it. So I was like, I had to just doodle it.
I just remember telling my tutor when I was showing her what I need to study, and I said, ignore everything but these few things right here. That's all we're gonna do this week. But
Jeez.
anyway, so so we have actual Starfighter news to talk about, and this is really exciting because I feel like we have been just wanting and yearning for about anything related to one of the movies that are coming out soon, because we have a Star Wars movie that is coming out literally in 169 days, but I feel like no one even knows about it. And then
Yeah.
we have this giant movie that just started, we don't really know much about, but we're getting some heavy hitting things this week. So it was really nice. We had Sean Levy that was talking about Starfighter, and he let us know that Thomas Newman is going to be composing the score for this, and he's writing this. And so now we have Claudia Miranda, and then we have Thomas Newman. So we have a massive win in both of the cinematography department and now in the music department for this film. Now, I'm not really sure what a Thomas Newman like Star Wars movie is going to sound like, but if you look at his history, we're talking about a 15-time Oscar nominated, composer here. And you look at Claudia Miranda's work, with things like Top Gun Maverick, F1, Life of Pi. The movie, I have no doubts, is going to sound and look great. Now, the type of music that we're going to get for this type of movie does make me go, I'm a little bit, confused on what that might be, but I'm excited. Like, I'm intrigued. And then the second little tidbit of information that Sean Levy gave us was that the entire third act was completely rewritten and redone during the process of filming. Did not really give us a lot of details into why that was, but Miguel and his Sunday piece maybe speculated that it was just what they wanted to do just didn't work with like the hardware that they had available to them, and ultimately they just kind of had to reshoot everything. This might be something that gets talked about later on after the film comes out, but those are two pretty big deals to be talking about when normally these people are so tight-lipped. Like Lucasfilm and Star Wars are so tight-lipped about anything and everything they say. So for them just come out and say, yep, this is who's doing the music, this is who's composing this, he's writing it right now, it's going to be great. And then to say, yeah, we absolutely just tore up the entire third act of the movie, redid it, and it's great. That was shocking to me. But which one of those two things stands out to you guys here?
I can't help but latch on to what you just ended with, the third act being rewritten, scrapped, redone. I can't help but think about the movie Solo. I can't help but think about Rogue One and how heavily those were edited. Um, and those came out well. I like those movies. So it's not like some kind of curse. It's not some kind of bad thing, bad omen. It's certainly interesting that it's the third act. The ending had to be completely changed, and yet the first two didn't. Apparently, that's not said that they had to be changed. So that's interesting that the end of the movie, the way it leaves us off, can be changed without the first two having much editing. I think that's an interesting story structure, I'll say. So I'm very curious what this is gonna be.
Yeah, I heard some chatter online. People were speculating, and of course, some of the cynicism came up and said, "Well, did he make that decision, or was it scrapped by the higher ups?" I don't think so. I feel like I know he's supposed to play up the movie at this point and good PR and everything, but I feel like Sean Levy, it's almost like he can't lie when he talks about this. He's so locked into it, so enthusiastic that it's really refreshing to see. So, but yeah, it's really interesting. I wonder, how they came upon that. I mean, I'm sure, like they say, sometimes in these, as this production goes on, it takes on a life of its own, and
Mhm.
it may lead them in different directions. And to take that kind of, or make that kind of change with a movie with this much, riding on it as far as budget, fan expectation, they need a win from this movie, so it's very interesting to actually, not even that it happened, but that they told us about it. Like, I think all the stuff about, well, we knew what was going on kind of with Solo, because
Right.
they changed directors halfway through. You didn't really hear much about Rogue One except for rumors before it was released, if I
Right.
recall correctly. So, but for him to come out and say, "Yeah, we just found something better and we went with it, and it turned out much better," so it's to me it's encouraging. I'm pretty optimistic
Mhm.
by nature anyway. I'm not really that cynical. So
There's no reason I don't think to just be negative for the sake of being negative on this, because if he really didn't feel great about it, why mention that at all? And other than, you said it yourself, Tom, it's almost like he can't help himself. He is just gets so into what he's doing. But I kind of want someone in my Star Wars director's chair that's super invested. Like, you could tell, like, every part of him is just some completely invested in this movie. Like, his energy is always, and this is what Mia Goth was saying, that he just brings this electricity and intensity to his directing, to his movies, that is contagious across the set, and which is why I'm excited about. But I really, after hearing him talk about how we redid the third act, all of that, we know about Thomas Newman now. This just continues to elevate my excitement for this film. I do have the only concern I do have is if it was something where some Disney person said you needed to rework this, but I would be really surprised if that's what happened. And obviously,
yeah,
with the hunt for Ben Solo and all of the things that we are starting to learn about Disney people coming in and saying, no, you can't do this for whatever reason, I just don't think that that's in play here. I think they're very comfortable letting him just take the reins on what he wants to do and deliver the story that he's ready to tell. But I am, something that Miguel brought up in his piece, which I thought would be a good talking point for us tonight, is talking about the music in Star Wars and whether or not there will be a crawl at the beginning with the main theme, because Sean Levy says how they're trying to steer away from using any of Williams' previous themes that he's made for Star Wars, because they want this to feel completely original, completely new, fresh. And that's all good and great, while they still want it to feel familiar with having multiple themes throughout the movie. But something that I think, if you go read Miguel's piece, I think he said this, and I agree with him. Star Wars, this is my opinion, other than Mando and Grogu might be a little different, we could have that discussion. But for something like Starfighter that feels more like, the saga, it should start with a title crawl and the main Star Wars theme. Like, 100%,
I
it
completely
should
agree with
not deviate from that. And I think Rogue One and Solo made a mistake in doing that. And I would like the Starfighter to course correct that and set a standard of every Star Wars movie is going to have this title crawl with the main theme. Like, this is going to feel like Star Wars from the very beginning of the film. And if it doesn't do that, I'm not saying that that's, it's not, can't be a great movie if it doesn't do that. But I don't necessarily, this might sound wrong, but I hope you hear what I'm actually trying to say here. I don't want to just go see a really great movie. Like, I want to go see a really great Star Wars movie. And to me, like, those two things need to be in sync. And part of that is, the music and the title crawl being there with, with the main theme, especially for this movie. Like, I just kind of want it to be a great Star Wars movie instead of just like, oh, great film.
in that way. It's like James Bond. It has to start off with that, that theme, right? If it didn't, it wouldn't be James Bond. So,
Mhm.
and I know, like, I understand they were trying to go different directions. I mean, I love Rogue One. I really like Solo. And I like how they did it in Solo too, how they introduced it. I thought that was really good the way they did it because it did differentiate it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like we have to go back and look, whoa, it's those were the saga films. No, I feel like it's part of what we expect as fans. I feel like it will line up much better down the road. So like I said, like James Bond always starts with that theme, he shoots the gun and you hear that
Mhm.
I'm not going to attempt to sing it because I really can't. But to me, that's all they need. I mean, yes, would I love to hear more John Williams music? Of course, but Thomas Newman is an excellent composer, so I'm looking forward to see what he brings. But I think you have to at that point, because didn't Rogue One end when it did the Iris out at the end? Doesn't it have the theme?
I do not remember. It's been so long since
Sorry.
I've watched Rogue. Well, it hasn't been so long. I watched it 8 months ago, I guess, but
No.
or 6 months ago, however many months
Andor
ago
ended.
Andor ended. I watched Rogue One that weekend, but so I don't remember. You cannot include any saga music, any themes from John Williams in the movie itself once we get going. A Star Wars film, and I think this should be a precedent and a standard that we set forward. Should start with the crawl and the theme.
I'm in complete agreement. Sorry to be boring for the viewers, but yes, all three of us absolutely agree on this. I think there is no shame in that. Like, even with Rogue One and Solo, those are both Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and Solo, it's a Star Wars movie, and I think it's a great idea to have them all start the same way because there's not a ton of nobody else does that. There is no other oh, it's the crawl for this Marvel. That's not a thing for any other franchise. Like, this is Star Wars' thing. It's unique. It's very cool. It's very nostalgic. And it doesn't, we can do this. Like, it's fine. Bring it into Starfighter.
What do you guys think about Mando and Grogu having the title crawl? That's one where this is to pivot from Starfighter for a moment. I think it's an interesting discussion because it is different than anything we've ever seen on the big screen from Star Wars before, from the standpoint of, it's a live action series making a theatrical debut. And I'm not sure if the standard of title crawl main theme does apply to the Mandalorian and Grogu, given that there is an established theme for Mandalorian and Grogu. There's an established tone of what that music, that aesthetic is. So I don't really think it needs to apply for Mandalorian and Grogu, but I think for something like Starfighter, it does apply. Does that ring with you guys, or are you guys thinking this should be there as well?
I kind of feel like it doesn't as animate as I want to see it in Starfighter. I feel like Mandalorian is established by this point, and I think it would be weird if you kind of have maybe you could do a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, but I don't know if you need the main theme to start it off, or if you just started off the way that the show started off.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, we're kind of getting to a weird area. This is the first Star Wars property to go from the small screen to the big screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of uncharted territory in a way. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I remember when the Next Generation Star Trek went to the big screen with what was it, Generations, I guess was the first film. Yeah, it didn't start like the other, it differentiated itself from the others. And I feel like Mandalorian, I don't know what they're going to do, but I feel like I would be fine if they didn't have the main theme, because this is almost like a continuation of a different story.
I actually love the retro thing they're going with like the poster and everything. So I actually, after just thinking about this right now, One thing I think what would be great for the Mandalorian and Grogu is if you just started it kind of like you said, Tom. We go into an episode of the Mandalorian, so we just start the movie off. Mando and Grogu are doing something, and it's just some opening, just intro action sequence, kind of like how they used to do with movies, where you have this intro action sequence, and then boom, then you're just gonna go to the Mandalorian and Grogu, like dun 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 dun, and you just kind of have the Razor Crest flying through triumphantly after some random opening 10-minute mission. And then you bring in the, starring Pedro Pascal, starring, whatever. And you kind of give it that retro-y vibe for Mando and Grogu and almost kind of a classic intro to a movie, and then go on from there. And then Manslayer kind of brought this up. They think there will be a short one again, like Solo. I hate the Solo intro. I really do. And I love that movie, but I hate it when Star Wars does they're like they tease you with something like that, where if you're gonna put anything in front, like that little short, stuff that they did with Solo with the little blocks, little blurbs, if you're gonna do that, just give me the classic crawl at that point. I don't care that you're trying to differentiate this from the saga film. Just keep it Star Wars. Like that should start off with the main title, the screen. Like I don't like it when they branch off and do something different like that. I think it should just be pretty much uniform on the big screen if you're going to do it at all. And to me, it felt like we're just trying too hard to do something different, but it ultimately feels like a cheaper Star Wars opening experience when if you're going to do something at all, but it not be what Star Wars feels like at the beginning.
So Star Wars can never change. Got it.
That's exactly what me, the Last Jedi lover, said, Luke.
What about the Ahsoka opening? That was similar.
I was going to say the Ahsoka opening was also different.
But that's a TV show. That's a TV show. Different.
True.
Completely different. Like Disney Plus, different. Like, they did that for the Clone Wars, Siege of Mandalore, arcs. They did like a little thing. They changed up. They made it red instead of gold for it, little things like that. I'm fine. Anything Disney Plus, do whatever you want to do with that. This is a completely different experience versus when I'm sitting there IMAX screen and you just blast it at me. But we'll see what's in store. I really expect this to be a very high paced, action-packed movie that just packs a really big punch. But it was interesting, and I love Miguel, so I always like to give him his flowers here. But he mentioned in his piece about how John, when you hear John Williams music, you recognize it instantly for it's kind of like euphoric nature. It's gonna have these really high highs, but Thomas Newman's a more like maybe somber and subtle approach, which I think is going to be interesting to see what he brings to a movie like Starfighter. Which when I think about the score for Starfighter, that's not necessarily where my mind might go for what it's going to sound like when I think about Sean Levy and just the frenetic pace, which I feel like this movie could go. And then you have Claudia Miranda, who you just look at the last few movies he's done and what they've been able to do and visually. I'm curious to see if this was something that Newman obviously is incredibly overqualified for this job. He can do anything he wants, but I wonder if almost he took it as this is an incredible new challenge for me in my career, given everything that they've accomplished already, to come in and maybe do something very different than what we're expecting of them. That might be a reason to take on this, but I'm really excited regardless.
Yeah, I can't say that I've watched a ton of the movies that he's done, but I've been looking them up as we've been talking, and it is like a wide range of things that Thomas Newman has done, with like 1917, a movie like that, a war movie, but then there's also Finding Nemo, Wall-E, and there's kind of everything in between. So I'm sure that he's got what it takes, and I think it's awesome that someone as historied as him already can come in and add to the franchise. That John Williams, I'm sure he's been inspired by John Williams. He gets to lend himself to that work as well. So I just think just because maybe he doesn't have the same exact type of sound that John Williams has, I think the pacing of the music is also going to be important because we feel like this is going to be a fast movie. The pace will be fast, the action will be fast. It's literally called Starfighter. And so the notes don't have to be in a high register, but if it's quick, the tempo, I think that could work. And I also really like your point that he could be really trying something out of his depth here and pushing himself in his career. I would love to see that.
Tom, me and God talked about the electricity that Sean Levy brings to a project and the intensity that he has. Are you very familiar with her previous work? And if not, what are you kind of most excited about seeing her bring it in a way that, if you're not very familiar? Because I can't say I remember watching anything of hers. Really, I've seen some of those movies. I'm like, yeah, typically those aren't movies that I would probably go see.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with her work. I know my brother is a big fan of hers. He's like, you have to see her movies. I saw her in Frankenstein. I thought she was excellent in that. And yeah, it's very interesting. She obviously she gave a great performance, and it's going to be interesting to see how they use her and in Starfighter. But for her, she always seems so serious, and for her to talk about the excitement is really, and that it's like contagious on set. It just sounds like a great time and makes me really, it's funny because not too many Star Wars filmmakers of recent memory have shared as much, I feel, as Sean Levy has. I'm
just in a few days.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really heard. I guess we've heard a little bit from Jon Favreau on The Mandalorian. I know I'm trying to think back. I know JJ was always so excited about what was happening, but just to see that and to hear that they're having a good time making it, it just to me it sounds like it's going to be a blast. I'm looking forward to it. But getting back to her, yeah, just to see how because I know she wasn't the first choice for that role, right? It was supposed to be I'm going to blank on the name, the person who was
I have no idea. Mikey Madison.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I
but
forgot about that actually.
It sounds like, I mean, she's interested. She's really happy with how things are going. So I'm excited. Like I said, I really enjoyed her performance in Frankenstein, and I love to see what she's going to do in this. I think rumor has it that she's a villain, so it should be pretty interesting to watch.
I was going to say her filmography lends itself, I would think, to being a really cool villain in Star Wars. She's not that I've watched a ton of her movies, but I'm looking at what she's been in, and it's a lot of darker roles. It's a lot of more serious, heavier things. So I just feel like she's meant to be a villain. I think she'd be really good at that, playing something a little bit more twisted, a little darker in tone. I think
you don't have to convince me. The cast is fire from top to bottom so far that we know about. Everything about this movie just is. It makes me feel weird in a sense because we have so many Star Wars movies where typically, Star Wars is going to cast a lot of unknown actors or people that are earlier in their career. When you think about the saga films, and you got the John Boyegas and the Daisy Ridleys, who we aren't very familiar with, back in the days, like the Mark Hamills and the Carrie Fishers, and then Hayden Christensen came onto the scene, and Ewan McGregor. We have all of these little stars and then here we have Starfighter, where we're very familiar with the people that are at the top of this cast, and Matt Smith, Amy Adams, Ryan Gosling, of course. You got the young star coming into her own as well, and then you have Sean Levy, this big time director behind it, with a world-class team in the cinematography and in the music department. Now it feels weird as a Star Wars fan. Like, I almost feel like this is something that when it gets closer, I wonder if the hype for this movie and the expectations for this movie might reach a point where we're going to have to really try to temper them a bit because we might get out of control. But I do want to go back to this quote real quick. It was from Manslayer here. He said he read somewhere that they made a questionnaire to audiences, and apparently the excitement for Mando and Grogu is like number 17 or 19, and there was more hype for Toy Story 5. Two things from this. Number one, there will be no Toy Story 5 slander ever. Not that you were trying to slander Toy Story 5, but we are full-fledged Toy Story supporters here at Star Wars Newsnet.
There's a snake in my boot.
Nothing else here. The toys are in danger from LilyPad, and frankly, I think if we're gonna make more Toy Story movies, the fact that an iPad basically is the villain of the movie is just perfect for where we are at as a society. And I am going to be in the theater, but in seat. I'm already there. I'm seated right now. This is actually my local theater. They are terrified because I'm doing the live stream Star Wars Newsnet Live episode from the screen that they're going to be playing Toy Story 5 on in 7 months, but they cannot remove me because I'm simply too seated. And but I will say that it is a problem that so many people have no idea that there is a Star Wars movie coming out in 169 days from the guy that directed the Lion King live action remake, Jungle Book, and Iron Man. It's not, this isn't, some chump that directed this movie. This is someone that has delivered many bangers over his time.
Yeah, that's also just a weird feeling that we're getting so much news about Starfighter, and there's so many reasons to be hype about that. And that is not the next movie coming out. It's Mandalorian and Grogu, which I'm excited for. I'm going to have a great time going to watch that movie, and I'm going to like it a lot. But the general public does not have any idea that's coming out, and that's my sentiment is not probably widely shared, which feels weird. This is Star Wars. What are we doing? Strange.
Things.
Yeah, I feel kind of the same way. I want to see it. I know I'm going to enjoy Mandalorian and Grogu, and I think it's going to surprise us because I feel like it's going in and no one's really counting on it. But I think it's going to be great. But I don't know what the returns are going to be. I don't know. It just doesn't seem. I mean, I know. What is it? 5 months from now? I know there's time, like maybe the Super Bowl spot or something that will get people.
You got a lot of time.
There's still a lot of time, but it's just like you said, it's weird. I feel like we're getting this daily dose of Starfighter news, and I feel myself more excited about that, for other reasons too. It's fresh, it's a new time period. So, and the cast, like you said, everything involved with it, but it's interesting. I kind of felt this similar. It's funny, after The Force Awakens came out, I could not wait for episode 8 because I wanted to see what happened next, and I knew Rogue One was coming out, and I thought it looked good, but like I really wanted to see episode 8 because I wanted the story to continue. But then I was very pleasantly surprised with Rogue One, so we'll see.
We got this quote from Republic Commando 1463 here. What do you guys think the tone vibe of the movie would be given the director, composer, and everything else you've discussed so far? So we did talk about this a minute ago. For tone and vibe, I want this to be something where I am leaned forward the entire time. You know what I mean? Like, this is going to feel this high octane pace. Like if I'm watching a football game and it's just two offenses just throwing haymakers at each other the entire time. Like that's kind of what I want this to feel like, where every single possession in the game feels like if you're not scoring, like you're going to lose. Like you got to score every time. And I want that to kind of be encapsulated in this movie, where every second of this movie, I want to feel the stakes of it. And I think we're going to get that because Sean Levy is not someone that's going to pull any punches from, we have, Wolverine, Deadpool Wolverine, but, I'm doing a Stranger Things rewatch, and he's done a lot of he did a lot of Stranger Things episodes in there. And you feel the tension every single episode that he, has directed. And I just think he has a way of just keeping you kind of almost a little uncomfortable the entire time because you're leaned in, you're ready, but you got that knot in your stomach. Like, that's honestly how I want to feel, but kind of like jaw dropping, because of the visuals that I think we're gonna get. I truly believe that that's the tone vibe we're gonna see from this movie. Just looking at the people that are making it.
Absolutely. I see
I,
a lot of action. I don't see a lot of what is my sacrifice? I don't know that there's going to be a lot of I don't want any long dialogue scenes. I want some fast action, some fast flying. I want some twists and turns, some crazy things to go on. The Claudio Miranda has got me so hyped for just the visuals we're going to get. I'm ready.
yeah, I mean, if
Foot on
you
the pedal.
Sean, they asked him what movie does it compare to from the original trilogy, and he said Return of the Jedi, and Return of the Jedi has all of that. When you think about it, it had the fast-paced action, it had the humor and the heart, and just the pacing. At that time, some people today might look at it, movies. It for that time, it was like nonstop action.
No,
Those are
100%.
yeah. And I mean, that third act is probably the strongest third act, I think, of any Star Wars film. Arguably. Sorry, I can't
You
say it.
can. I watch that movie anytime I go back and watch Return of the Jedi. When Luke is confronting his father, not even just getting to Palpatine. It's just when Luke and Vader are just talking in like the little hallway right there, and he basically just starts saying like, you are still there, like, please join me, all of that. And he's just like, it's too late for me, son. Just from that moment on, you sit forward a little bit, you're just nervous, you're ready to see what happens next, like 100%. But the only thing that I'm really curious talking about Return of the Jedi is there is like that action, there's the sequences going on like everywhere with Star Wars loves to do like their space battle, they love to do their massive land battle mixed in with some sort of really emotional battle going on, and usually with lightsabers, but doesn't necessarily have to be here. But I'm really curious what they're going to do in this movie to capture the emotional elements of Return of the Jedi, because you can definitely capture all of the other elements of Return of the Jedi here, but to really sell us on the emotional aspect of that movie, I'm really curious what Sean Levy's what they're gonna bring to the table there. And they certainly have a cast to be able to do it, but I think we might learn a little bit more about as we get the story. This comment made me laugh. Do you guys remember the Richard Grant video from before The Rise of Skywalker?
I don't know that I do.
Oh my gosh, you have to go watch it. I remember when I was so bored. I was so bored at work. That was back when my job was the most like boring thing ever, which sometimes I'm thinking to myself, man, I kind of miss some of the boringness sometimes, but I love what I do though. But he put this video out. It's like the day before the premiere of Rise of Skywalker when it came out, and it was just this video of him. He goes, guys, I just saw it. I laughed. I cried. I cheered. Nothing will prepare you for what is. And I watched that 9,000 times in a row. Just him. I laughed. I cried. I cheered. And I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be the greatest movie that I've ever seen in my entire life. And then after, the aftermath of the Rise of Skywalker settles, and I saw that video make waves again, I just wanted to point to him, like, blow that piece of junk out of the sky. That's what I want. Like the video, not Rise of Skywalker, which is whatever, but that video specifically. And it was, he got the, Luke, what is my favorite quote? You don't have to say the full quote. What's my favorite quote about a certain director of the Book of Boba Fett?
He is a liar.
Yes, that's what Mr. Grant was. The freaking liar.
Robert Rodriguez.
Robert Rodriguez is a freaking liar. Tom, do you know? So this backstory about that, Tom, was when the build up. I don't remember if you remember much about the build up for the Book of Boba Fett, but
It was a lot.
Robert Rodriguez said multiple times in several interviews that there's just so much that's going on in this show that nothing can prepare you for it, that we couldn't include anything in the trailer that was outside of the first 30 minutes of the show. Like we couldn't do anything. It's all from the very beginning. And then half the main trailer for that show is from like the last episode of the movie or of the show. And the whole time I'm watching this, I'm texting Lou like, this freaking liar, this is the con job. I'm going into this going like, I know exactly where this is going. You showed me the whole thing outside of the Rancor in the first thing, oh, it's so amazing. Freaking lie. Everything he said leading up to that was 100% a lie, and I will never forgive him for it ever.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was he was like, this is going to be the best show that you've maybe ever seen. Like, I feel like his comments were like too much.
Not that they're supposed to talk about their thing like, this is going to be great. It was just the fact that he literally said we couldn't include anything in the trailer out of the first 30 minutes of the show because it's just so much going on, and half the trailer is from like the last 2 episodes.
Oh man.
Oh, it's so good. It was so good. All right. Any final things on Starfighter? Well, we can answer this last question, I guess, and that can kind of round it out for us, which was, since Starfighter's promised to be wholly separate from the main characters of other films, do you think we can learn from the time period this is set in that can apply to the future movies? I'll throw it to you guys.
I think they're going to plant some seeds, maybe for, I want to know what's going on just like overall in the galaxy after the fallout of the Rise of Skywalker. So I'm curious to learn more about that. And I think that, everyone says this is a one-off movie, but I feel like it's going to set the tone for what's to come. Not just the types of movies, but also maybe set up any future ones. So, I'm not just saying the tone, but also the story. So what's going on? It depends on what the scope of the story is. If we will learn more about, like, are we going to travel to any of the capital worlds or anything like that? But I want to know all that stuff. I want to see what's going on. I want to know what the fallout was of the Battle of Exegol, and
100%.
Yeah. So I hope they do.
Weird. What about you, Luke?
I would love for this to, I think plant the seeds was a really good phrase, because I don't need following subsequent movies to have the same villain or like an ongoing story. But it would be cool for this to go, for Starfighter to go really well, and for us to get another one-off movie or another series of movies after this, and for us to feel like they are connected in some larger way. I would love for Starfighter to give us a couple nods to, I like what you said about the core planets, something that is familiar. Like, that's obviously going to be in the Star Wars movie, but I don't want to go to Tatooine. I don't want to go to Coruscant. I would love to just hear about, like, after my ship got wrecked from, trying to come back from Exegol, something like that. Like, I would love to hear someone talk about their experiences since then, just to let me know that, like, this is part of Star Wars. This is ongoing. We don't need to see and land and touch our feet down on Naboo itself or anything like that.
I want to be at new planets, but I want some familiarity. I think that it would be weird to dive, not that please don't go to Tatooine, but I think that you can have all new planets, but like you said, at least mention some other planets, or maybe you have a quick pit stop at somewhere we're familiar with, maybe just to bridge it all together just a little bit, because I felt like the sequel movies just completely pivoted away from the prequels and separated themselves so much from the prequels that they don't feel super connected, because it was almost like we're going to separate ourselves from that completely and focus on like the original films, which obviously sequentially like that time period is closer, but it felt like it would have been nice to have some nods to some of the prequels as well. So if we're starting, this is our first movie in the post saga era, I would love for it to, how do I say this exactly? Like, I would love for it to both, feel familiar and kind of blaze a new path forward at the same time, because it's important that Star Wars, continues to evolve in what these stories look like and can be. And I think Levy's going to deliver us a film that does that, but we can never forget, what Star Wars is at its core, and a lot of it is building on legacies of not just like characters but planets and places, because the lore aspect of it is really important, and every Star Wars movie shouldn't go back to the same planets, but we should see some of the most popular and familiar places in Star Wars should pop up here and there again as well. And I think that's when Star Wars can like do its best. I mean, in Phantom Menace, right? We go to Tatooine. It's obviously we had to go there. It's an incredible, planet in Star Wars lore that we've been to multiple times. But we also had the birth of Coruscant in that. That's one of the most popular planets in all of Star Wars. We had the birth of Naboo, which is a place that, many fans love. So if we could do something like that for Starfighter, where maybe we have, we see a planet that I don't think you're, sometimes I think they try to invent these new places and just create brand new ones. But there's so many Star Wars planets out there that we just haven't visited, that are talked about, that are known about in lore, that we should just go to. I think that'd be fun if they took one that, take for like Mon Cala, for instance. Like, we've never been there outside of the Clone Wars, and there's this massive water stuff going on. And I'm not saying it's expensive probably to have all the Mon Cala and the Quarren, around. But I'm saying, like, this is not saying that they need to be in Starfighter, but it'd be nice if we got more of a planet that we know about, we've seen, and now we kind of build the lore of an established location. We don't have to just create some brand new. There's a bajillion places in Star Wars that we know exist already, without just having to say, well, there's actually this other planet that we're going to slide in right here.
That is a really good point. I gotta say, I really love when we take something we know surface level and we dig deep on it.
Yeah.
For some reason, that's like a fascination of mine, which I think probably has driven my love of like the novels and comics, because that's what they do. They'll take, you mentioned Mon Cala, and like in the comics between 5 and 6, I believe, you do go to Mon Cala and you do see stuff, and you do see stuff in that like Vader run. Like, there's, so that's what the books and comics do, which is what I love. So I would love, let's just make it everything in this movie. We'll get a little bit of depth on something we've never seen, or that we've only barely seen. I would love a new planet. I would love a nod to something very established. Let's get all 3 pillars.
Tom?
Yeah, I'm all for it. Like I was saying, I want to see I want to see Dantooine, I want to see Ord Mantell. I want to see all the old school planets that were always mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be kind of cool. And yeah, I mean, just in a way, do it in a way that serves the story, obviously, and kind of is a nice nod to the. That's how you please, if you use it to serve the story, the people are going to be engaged that are even the fans that aren't that knowledgeable. So they'll be engaged. We'll all be engaged, but the diehards like us are going to be like, yes, they finally showed it.
Because
to realize it on the screen.
There's just so much that if you tell like the good story, it's just, if the story elements are there, we're gonna connect with the place. But it needs to be really visually like eye catching. And this is different than, I hate to always go back to this, but there's so many great scenes in Obi-Wan Kenobi that I really don't care about because it doesn't look very good. Like, the planet's barren, it looks the same as what I've seen on Disney Plus a lot. Or, with Star Wars movies, I think they've always done a really good job for the most part of making the movies feel with every location, it just pops. Like even in some of the more unpopular ones, like Canto Bite, like it just, we have this anytime Canto Bite is mentioned, I just instantly go back to that scene where there's just all these eye-popping creatures and things that are going on. Like I think about Kamino, we have the epic fight with Django and Obi-Wan there, but I don't remember that before. I just remember how cool it was to see a new alien species like the Kaminoans for the first time and just have this new lore element of these cloners that look with these super long necks and look weird. And then, Manslayer drops in the next, Urugunga. And think about what it was like seeing that for the first time and swimming down in there. So I really want Starfighter to get really creative in the visuals of where we're going to be. I don't want to see just normal Star Wars landscapes. Like I think that's something that every Star Wars movie, like there should be just really strong feelings about the locations that we're at. Even Revenge of the Sith. I mean, Utapau was not a place I'd ever heard of or thought about. And anytime someone mentions Utapau or anything in Star Wars now, I just think about how cool the design was of just all these different levels that were built into the rocks and how they're jumping down between them. I just thought that was great. I want more of that with Starfighter. I think this is a type of movie where you can jump like planet to planet or location and really have a very wide berth, and you have the best cinematographer in the business to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'll give a quick shout out, believe it or not, to the Acolyte, which I felt did the locations very well as far as the look of the locations. I thought that was done well.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I want to see what they do. They have. It seems like they have the right talent, the right tools, and we'll see, like you said, what they deliver.
I'm excited. Starfighter, really excited for Starfighter. I think that we're gonna have a good time on our hands. I will say, for now, let's just table Skeleton Crew for next week. At this point, like we're at an hour. I think we just table that. We can spend some time on Skeleton Crew. Do you guys have any more things you really want to add to the discussion here on Starfighter tonight?
I want to show off my
That's a good Star Wars sweater, though. That's a good one. I don't have a lot of Star Wars stuff. So for, we do like a Secret Santa with my fiance's family, and then we do like something kind of similar sometimes with my family. And Janelle is the one who organizes the Secret Santa for like her family. And it's like we have this like online deal where it just randomizes, and you can like add things in like a list to give either the person, these are the things you could just buy these things, it links it for you, or just ideas of things that you're interested in. And so because she's nosy, she just likes to go look at every single person's list. And she confronted me about mine when she saw some of the choice things that I had put on there. And it was just some of my guilt. I just put all my Star Wars guilty pleasure things that I don't think I would ever wear a ton, but I just want to be able to put it on. And there was one of them is from her universe, like Ashley Eckstein's the Clone Wars bomber jacket that they have for like in the Our Universe section. That, have you seen that? Have you guys seen that?
I saw that one.
It's basically like just this Star Wars bomber jacket on the back is kind of like art of the poster of Clone Wars season 7. And it's kind of like this purplish, pinkish, like star galaxy type deal. But I put that on there, and she goes, the bomber jacket was one thing, Tyler, but the next thing you had on there was I had this Ahsoka Tano, is also from her universe. It was this Ahsoka Tano backpack, like a mini backpack. And Luke knows this too, I think, because of my obsession when we were at MegaCon. I have wanted some sort of lounge fly kind of like Star Wars backpack for so long like this is like my guilty pleasure want that I guilty desire, I guess is what we would call it, because there's really no universe where I would wear that, because I pack too many things to fit everything in a small Loungefly, and I don't go
But
to
for
like
a
a
day at
theme park.
MegaCon, though, it would work really well.
You see, that's what I'm saying. Like for just random little niche things that I could use it for, or I just want to feel good. Sometimes I'm like, I might not have anything in there, but I'm just gonna put it on anyway. Like I didn't want one so bad, so I put that on there. She's like, what are you gonna use that for? And I wanted to say, what about all the things that you put on your things that you never use? And I just want this backpack. And I said, you better not sabotage me for whoever my secret Santa is, and tell them not to get me the backpack. That's not cool if that's what she does. We'll see. Maybe she actually had, me on there and did not want and wanted to kind of gauge my reaction to certain things. But that's definitely on my mind right now. Is I really want more Star Wars like attire. And Janelle does see that. She has followed through. I have a cool Empire Strikes Back hoodie that is really dope that I've been wearing. I have this cool Ahsoka shirt. She's following through.
There you go.
But the Loungefly might have to be a me purchase.
Might have to be. I'm on the Her Universe website on my phone. I didn't realize they had so many things that weren't Star Wars.
Oh yeah, they do everything. I'm gonna find the bomber jacket.
It's amazing. Yeah, you should send a picture of what that looks like, because I found a Thrawn bomber jacket that I think looks really cool. And
that's some good ones. I'm trying to think who had them. I was trying to get these ads. They had like an X-wing pilot, like. But it was like really, the detail was really good. I mean, it looked in the picture. They had a couple of them. So, yeah, I mean, back during the sequel era, we had like 4 Decembers in a row with Star Wars films. So I got a couple of these. So
there's like a Phantom Menace one too. That why can't I find it? My gosh, this is ridiculous. But anyway,
we'll do a holiday show next week.
Do what?
We'll do a holiday fashion show next week.
Oh no, we're gonna find this right now. We're not going anywhere until I found. Okay, there it is. I got it. Hold on. Let me pull it up. Let me see if I can open this image in a new tab and then save it. Dang it. All right. We're going to work. All right. But no, I'm serious though. The what would you say? I really want some more like Star Wars things. So I love the attire, Tom. Like I really do love the sweatshirt the sweater you have, because I really want one. Oh, this is interesting. I had a visit at a like antique shop, the antique mall. This was a place that I told. Oh, here it is. Here we go. Oh, it's kind of blurry. It kind of didn't turn out very good, but you could kind of tell like the back of it is
very cool.
The back. But I really want that. But I went to this antique store in Orlando. This is like thrift mall, and they had so many Star Wars things. Like a lot of those places have so many Star Wars toys. But what is the name of the ship that they are on in Phantom Menace and in the beginning of Attack of Clones? Like the Royal Naboo starship. Like what's that ship called?
It's like a J-type Nubian.
So they had one at the store, not like in like a small minute. It was a 1.5 feet, 2 feet long. It was huge. And Janelle goes, so you saw all this Star Wars stuff. Like, what was the number one thing that you got, that you saw, that you wish you had? And I'm like, I want that ship. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to put it anywhere. It's huge. It doesn't fit, but I really want. I'll send you guys the video. But oh my god,
J-type 327 Nubian.
Nubian. But
Mansley is killing me with the comments.
But do you guys have any like Star Wars things? Like if someone were to gift you something Star Wars this holiday season, like that's what you would kind of want?
What I would want, but it would be too big for a gift. What I've always wanted since I was a kid was actual Stormtrooper armor. Like I was flirting with the idea of joining the 501st, and but yeah, I try try to tell my wife that.
I do have a really good friend at church who is in the 501st, who is
Oh,
a stormtrooper commander. He's got an amazing stormtrooper outfit, and then he's got a second one that is two tubes.
oh wow,
We
It
should
looks
bring
an
him on the
amazing
pod. We
two
should do a
tubes as
pod with
well.
them sometime.
I
yeah,
think I think he'd love that.
That'd be
yeah,
fun.
that'd be great
Be
because
very
I
cool.
have so many questions.
100%.
Yeah, it's amazing. He gets like called to come to like parades and stuff because they know that like he's in
Yeah,
the area, he's local.
Mhm.
Hey, we're gonna need you for like this hospital visit or like this parade is happening. Can we get you for a stormtrooper fill in?
they have
That's
a
cool.
It's
great
like, of
network.
course. Yes, yeah,
And now
it's insane.
Favreau and Filoni were using some of them in Mandalorian. I
Yeah,
know,
that's
so that's pretty cool.
that's amazing.
It's awesome. Well, it's a pleasure talking Star Wars with you, gentlemen, this evening, as always. I will say that tomorrow I will be finishing my final class for the semester. So I will actually have availability during the week to record a little bit more. So for a few weeks, because school's starting to wind down, the semester is starting to wind down for my actual job, but my classes I'm taking will be winding down tomorrow. Like I'll have 3-week break before all hell breaks loose in the new year. But that means the Mando rewatch is finally going to happen, Tom, because
Yeah,
I will actually have, I think, the mental capacity to sit down. Yeah, so we'll start our Mando rewatch. I know Luke and I are planning on recording our next timeline show episode, the Eye of the Storm, looking at Eye of Storm comics. We're planning on recording that early next week as well. So that's very exciting. And then next Thursday, we'll be back here, Star Wars News Live, 10 o'clock Eastern time, to talk about Skeleton Crew, 1 year Skeleton Crew, plus, whatever else, might get thrown our way. I am going to Epcot this Saturday, so I'm excited to kind of make my way over to Disney for a little bit and
nice.
going to Hollywood Studios next weekend. So I'll let you know if there's any. I always hope there's some new cool Star Wars merch since the last. I haven't been there in a couple years, so I'm like looking forward to seeing the new Star Wars merch that might be there. But go ahead and give me a follow on TikTok, everyone, at Star Wars Book Dude. I talk about 3 things over there: Star Wars, Star Wars, Survivor, and I get actually maybe just 2 things. Never mind. So
And the Patriots.
really don't talk about the Patriots. I don't think I really.
Well, you should.
I think I have one video that
10-2,
talked about.
9-2.
We need to beat someone real soon. We have the easiest schedule in football. We have 2 good wins. That's about it. But
Well,
anyway,
you're not.
appreciate both of y'all as always. I'm not gonna lie. I told Luke this right before you hopped on, Tom. I was feeling a little depressed and a little bit
Hmm.
out of it today and just not in a good headspace. And I was like, you know what? But this right here, this always makes me feel a little better talking to you two, or 2 great people that I am happy are in my life. So take care, everyone, and we will see you next week for Light and Life.
Guys.
Remember, we are all curious what the Starfighter music is going to sound like.